Hello, Chipskaters. Welcome to our channel and to our live show tonight. I'm Kath Armstrong, creator of the Cheapskates Club, where our goal is to live life debt-free, cashed up and laughing. If this is your first time visiting our channel, welcome. And if it's not, welcome back. Okay. I noticed there's already some thumbs up. That would be great if you think you might like our show tonight and you don't want to wait till the end. Thumbs up now will work. I'll just run through some housekeeping though. We have the live chat going, and if you'd like to join the live chat, you actually need to be logged into your YouTube account, your Gmail account. It's a YouTube thing, not a Kath thing, so that you can join the live chat. And if you have any questions, what do? We put them in capitals, all capitals, so they stand out and I can see them and pick them from the general chat. Now, I do read all your comments, but if there's a question, having it sort of stand out a bit really helps me. And that will really help you. So it's only 7:31, but there's lots of people here. 36 people watching. Woohoo! And Estelle was really early. Well done, Estelle. Hello, Yvonne was early. Barb was early. Selena. Hello, Karen. Aradia. Angelique. Greg. Aim Before. Beverly Sherwin. Simply Good Life. Cheryl, waving back at you. Beverly Walsh. Got a lot of Beverlys in our group, haven't we? Catnaps. That's what I needed this afternoon, a catnap. Michelle Smith, Sylvia, Lynette, Melissa, Lynette, Tegan, Wendy. Hi, Wendy. Glad you're here. Might need some moral support. And Barb, don't worry about missing last week. You can always catch up on the replay. That's what they're there for. Hello, Laura and Mary, Kylie, Lady Luna. Okay, and Chris Miller. And we're glad you could join us, Chris. Working afternoon shift. Yeah. Well, enjoy your shift off if you can. How you're going with no spending months just before we get started? I sort of broke my own rules. How's that? With the Aldi vacuum sealer bags last week, but they were things. Here I'm making an excuse. Stop making excuses. I will tell you that I did break no spending month to stock up on those bags and the rolls because they were still $14.99 and they have gone up at Kmart and they have gone up online. So it was worth it to me to break my own rule. But I'm confessing I wouldn't hide it from you and get enough to last me for the next year so that I don't have to worry about it and I'm not paying more because I'm buying ahead. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you. I'm buying ahead. The other thing, I did something else and I thought, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. It's no spending month. And it was so essential, I can't even remember what it is. It wasn't very much. It was only a couple of dollars. I know what it was. I bought Wayne a packet of Fruit Tingles. Who remembers Fruit Tingles? When I was a little girl, they came in a roll like that. And they were so good. We loved Fruit Tingles. And if you got the speckled one, it was like winning the lottery. Well, Coles carry, they're called Lifesaver brand, so Lifesavers, but Fruit Tingles in a packet for $2. So I splurged and bought him a packet of Fruit Tingles because. And it made him happy. And it made me happy. Hello, Maureen. Thank you, Selena. See how easy it is to make excuses, though? See how easy it is to make an excuse? Wow. Miss Aussie Thunder, hello, hello. I said hello to Maureen, didn't I? Oh, well done. Going well with the month, only bought 2 things. Excellent. How good is that? Barb, I like fruit tinkles too. Hello, Delaney. I hope you are feeling well and or on the way to feeling well. Okay. All right. Beverly remembers fruit tingles and Catherine, hi from New Zealand. So it must be, what, 9:30 at night over there, roughly? Are you still in daylight savings time? Yes. And Mrs. Dilliger. And better late than never, always. But just remember, if you are late, you can always catch up on the replay, which is the beauty of posting videos to YouTube. All right, I think we'll get started because it's 7:36, and I've been really good the last couple of weeks in not going way over time. But just remember, if you've got a question, all capitals, I'll try and come back through the show and find the questions and answer them for you if someone else hasn't. Now, I started thinking about tonight's show last week. Well, I'm always thinking about shows a few weeks ahead. But what I was thinking about tonight, we'll do next week, because this popped into my mind. And if I come across as grouchy, I'm really sorry. And if I offend you, I'm really sorry. If I upset you, I'm really sorry. If I hurt your feelings, I'm really sorry. I don't mean to do any of those things. What I want to do is encourage you. But sometimes I come across as a bit of a boss. And I'm not really telling you what to do, but my making suggestions might seem a bit terse. I don't mean them to be. But if that is, please understand it's coming from a place of love and caring. And also, if what I have to say does upset you, or if it does hurt your feelings, you need to stop and ask yourself why. Because what I'm going to say is really rather benign. But from the response I had from a couple of people last week, it's a really, really sore subject. So my grouchy hat is on, although it's not really grouchy. This blind is going to drive me nuts. Just give me a second to close this window because it's rattling. Where is it? It's just right here. Oh, where's the curtain? It's really windy today. There we go, that's better. And now we'll get back. Okay, so the other thing I want to do is remind you that I speak generally, usually, in pretty much general terms, and I don't give financial advice. I'll speak from my experience. I'll share what we have done and what we do, how we live, what actions we took in the past or are taking now, what I've come to learn after doing my own research. And I will always encourage you to do your own research and not take my word or anyone else's as gospel until you have done just that. Do your own research. This is sort of one of the reasons why I'm probably a bit grouchy, and grouchy is not really the right word. I'm more frustrated. I was so frustrated that I actually spoke to Wendy about it over the weekend. Wendy and Maureen, I saw them at the weekend and I spoke to them about it because it's very frustrating, the attitude that is showing, and it has been really bad since the beginning of this year. And it's the, poor me, It's not my fault I'm in debt. I can't help it. I'm doing my best. You don't know how hard it is. The government has to fix it. That attitude. And I can tell you, and I've probably told you before, if there is one phrase that is sure to get a rise out of me, it's the government has to fix it. And after speaking to India Maureen, I'm really relieved to know that it's not just me that feels this way. And I was catching up on some reading yesterday, and one writer said in their newsletter exactly what I was talking about and exactly what I have in my notes. I jotted this down when I started preparing for this show last week. We are all adults. You are adults. You are responsible for you. You and you alone are responsible for you. You and you alone are responsible for your words, your actions, your behavior, your thoughts, your attitude. So stop making excuses. For instance, if I speak about the mortgage and you're renting, well, in your mind, replace mortgage with rent. I'm speaking about housing. But to keep it simple, because most of us have or have had a mortgage, that's the term I use. Don't whine that I'm not talking about renting and renters, and I don't understand, and I'm not giving a thought to renters and renting. Use your brain and replace the word, because the advice is the same. And for goodness sakes, stop using the fact that you're renting as an excuse for being in debt, for not saving, for not planning ahead. Because whether mortgages go up or rents go up, you still need to find the extra money to cover the rent increase or the mortgage increase. You still need to find the money to save so you can, if you really want to, eventually buy your own home and then become a mortgagee. So stop making excuses for your situation, whatever it is, and get up off your patootie and do something about it. I've been there. I know what it's like. I know how hard it is when you have nothing to find something. I know how hard it is to get out of bed and get going. I have been there. If you don't know our story, go to our website. You will find Kath's story there. That's my story, and that's what happened to us 28 years ago, nearly 29 years ago. Within the space of 4 days, our whole world turned upside down. We both lost our jobs. We found out we were having our third baby. We had half a house, and interest rates were 18%. Wages were a whole lot lower back then than they are now, too. I know that if you have a mortgage, then you could well be struggling right now. I know that if you're renting, you could well be struggling right now. But you can't blame anyone else, and you can't expect anyone else to help you. You put yourself in that situation. You chose how much you were going to borrow or how much rent you were going to pay. And while interest rates have been low, that's fine. It works really well. But they've always been going to go up. Always. So you need to accept that and deal with it. You can't whine about it. You can't blame people about it. You can't sit at home and go, poor me, I have to give up my latte to pay the rent. You cannot do that. You've got to pull up your big girl pants or your big boy pants and act like the adult you are. Now, hopefully, when you took out the mortgage, you're smart enough to think and plan ahead and only borrow what you can afford to repay. Now, sadly, very sadly, from what I've been seeing, hearing, reading, and being whined at the last month or so, there are a lot of people who didn't look ahead, and they have overcommitted, and they are stuck with a debt that they're already struggling to pay. They were struggling to pay it before the first interest rate rise. They are facing a very grim future. Whining about it, making excuses for not doing something about it, is not going to help. People can whinge and moan and carry on about how unfair it is that interest rates are rising and rents are rising and petrol rising and electricity is rising and gas is rising, and they're having to cut back or they're having to work harder. But they put themselves in that situation. Nobody forced them to borrow more than they could repay. Nobody held a gun to their head and said, you need to take out a mortgage for more than you can comfortably afford to repay when those rate rises hit. They chose to do it. I mentioned last week that one bank, and I'm pretty sure it's Westpac, but off the top of my head I can't quite remember, is saying no to new mortgages if the borrowers can't show that they can still manage the repayments if interest rates hit 8%. And oh my goodness, are people getting upset about that? They are bemoaning the fact that they can't borrow more than they can repay. Now, I have to say, I think that's about the best thing I have heard of a bank doing in a long, long time, if not ever, because it is not only protecting its investment, it's protecting the borrower's investment too, or the potential borrower's investment. It's protecting them from a lot of grief and a lot of hardship if they can't repay the loan. I'm trying not to be too terse with you. We all know banks are greedy. Banks are just outright greedy. Any financial institution is greedy. But their aim is to make money for shareholders, for them, and to be able to keep lending. That's their business. And they're allowed to be in business. So we can't moan about it when we choose to do business with them on their terms. And the other thing that we need to stop doing is stop saying someone else has to fix your problems, especially the government. Every time someone says that, I just want to scream, because of course the government could fix it. Yes, the state government, the federal government could give you a rebate in your power bill. They could give you a big tax cut. They could give you another handout. But where on earth do you think the money is going to come from? It's going to come from you, and it's going to come from me. It's going to come out of our pockets, because they use taxpayers' money to do that. And it will come out of your pocket and my pocket for a long, long time. It will come out forever, because they will not stop taking it once they've started. We have to understand that the government, like any business, only has so much money to use. If they want to use more, they'll either have to cut spending, and we know that won't benefit us, because they won't cut their wages, or they won't cut the things that aren't important. They will cut the things that are important, like health, education, or they'll increase taxes. And again, we know that won't help us. If you really want the government to give you more money, you have to accept that you will be paying more, and more than you receive, for the rest of your life. So you need to stop making excuses and do something yourself to fix your problem. I think of our family unit, our household, as a business. We run it like a business. We keep an eye on the income and the spending, and we aim to make a profit, just like any other business. So if you are struggling with getting your head around how you are going to manage with inflation, think of your family as a business. Run your family like a business. It's your responsibility to ensure that your family business stays in the black, that it covers the costs, and it makes a little profit. That profit is what we call savings. That's what we want to do. You need to think about how you can increase your family business income. What family business expenses can you trim? What family business expenses can you cut altogether? What can you do to pay down your debt quickly? We're going back to basics. We're going to start with your spending. Look at what you spend and why you're spending those amounts. Are you still buying lunches? Even occasionally? Then don't. Stop. Are you still picking up a drive-through coffee on the way to work in the mornings? Or perhaps after dropping the kids at school, you're meeting the other mums at the cafe? Then stop. Stop. Your family business can't afford it. You cannot afford that expense. And don't make excuses. Don't say you don't have time to make your lunch. Grab an apple out of the fruit bowl. Don't say you've got to socialise with the mothers. Invite them back to your house for coffee. You may well deserve those treats. I'm not saying you don't. But you can't afford them if you have debt. You can't afford them if you are struggling right now to pay the bills. You may need to review the kids' activities and cut some of them out. That sounds harsh, and we all want our children to have everything, but if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. Now, our kids were allowed to choose one extra activity each per term. So 1 year, one chose guitar and did it for the whole year. One chose basketball and one chose hockey. They were all reasonably inexpensive, thank goodness, but that was it. One activity each. They had swimming lessons at school, so I didn't have to worry about swimming lessons. And they got plenty of other social activities through school, through our church, through family gatherings. They didn't need to have something to do every day. Now, it not only saved us a lot of running around, but it kept a lot of money in our bank account, money that we needed for other things. And they weren't overtired and they weren't stressed. They weren't hyped up all the time like some of their friends were. So if you have children and they have more than one extra activity, money is tight and getting tighter, and it is going to. You may need to sit them down and have a little chat and let them choose one activity and only one. Now, our rule was they could change at the end of each term. If they started something at the beginning of the term, they had to do it for the whole term. We didn't let them drop out halfway through just because they decided they didn't like it or whatever. They had to do the term. Another thing is, do you really need 2 cars? Can you sell one and use the money to pay down your debt or build up your pantry? Do you really need to go on a holiday to a theme park this year? Can you choose somewhere not quite as expensive and use the difference to pay down your debt? Or to build your pantry? Yeah, I'm harping about building a pantry. Are you seeing my theme? Are you understanding my theme? Pay down debt and build up your pantry. see the future as being tough. And for a lot of younger people than me, they have no idea. They have no idea how tough, or what tough really is. They just don't know. They didn't live through the 1990s. They didn't suffer through 2007, 2008 through the GFC. They don't understand how crippling rising interest rates can be. They don't know how devastating unemployment can be. They've only known boom times. And so they have the attitude of, well, I see it, I want it, I'm going to have it, and I'll worry about paying for it at the end of the month. And if I can't pay for it at the end of the month, it doesn't matter because I'll just pay it off over time. I'm earning big money, interest rates are low, it doesn't really matter. We'll pay it off eventually. Those times are gone. Those times are gone. Well and truly. My advice is keep paying down debt as fast as you can and build up your pantry as fast as you can. I was talking to a journalist just yesterday afternoon about pantry building. He wanted to know specifically how I felt about Coles and Woolworths extending their price freezes, their price lockdowns. And so I told him, I am all for it. It gives everyone a chance to build their pantries and to get a decent stockpile going. And that is just common sense, and it is good for the family business. Why is it good for the family business? You may well ask. Because you are buying for tomorrow at today's prices. You're keeping more of your money in your purse. These price lockdowns are going to go for another couple of months. So if you can build a stockpile to last you a while during this time, you could potentially be hundreds of dollars ahead on your grocery budget. And that gives you wiggle room, or it gives you more cash to pay down your debt, or build an emergency fund. But stop making excuses. Stop making excuses for not pantry building. Stop making excuses for not paying down debt. Find the room for the pantry stockpile. Stock what you eat. Only stock what you eat. Look to long-term shelf-stable foods. Plan ahead so that you can buy now and save later. Now, Coles is under fire for doubling the price of some of the items that came off the price lockdown. They were 75 cents one day and $1.50 the next. Ho-hum. Coles is a business. It's a business with shareholders to answer to. Some of you may be those shareholders. It is supposed to make a profit. And it is allowed to make a profit. If you don't like the prices, stop making excuses. Just don't shop there. And yes, it is that simple. You don't have to shop where you don't want to. These days, even those of us living in remote areas have so many choices for shopping. There's no reason to shop somewhere you don't want to. Now, I mentioned a few minutes ago about selling a second car. With the price of fuel added to the insurance and the registration and the service and the maintenance costs that second car brings, if it's not being used every day because there, is no other alternative, if it's costing you a lot of money, if you're only running the kids to school and back and doing the shopping once a week, Sell it. Kids can walk to school or they can get the school bus and you can shop online. And I saw this week that doing the grocery shopping online actually saves you money because it stops impulse buys. Or you can shop late at night or over the weekend. Just stop making excuses. Take responsibility for yourself and become self-reliant. It's not easy. It is hard and it will be hard, but it will be worth it because when you are self-reliant, you decide what's best for you. You decide what's best for yours, no one else. So give me a minute. I'll take a break and I will flip over and see your comments. Whoa, 76 people watching. Woohoo. Let me see. Kelly got a whole kilo box of the speckled ones. Way to go. That was so very, very cute. Thank you, Estelle. No, it's not. The government is not here to give us money and it's not here to give us jobs. That is our responsibility. And Beverly, thank you for not being offended because sometimes I can be quite outspoken about my views. If it is to be, it is up to me. That's right. Thank you, Tegan. Okay. I say get up off your patootie and do something about it. Get up off your bottom and do something about it. Don't sit and rest on your laurels, so to speak. That's what I was saying. Get up off your patootie, off your bottom, and do something about your situation. You are responsible. You made the mess you're in. If it's a mess, it's up to you to get yourself out of it. It's not easy. It's absolutely not easy. I know it's not easy. It took us to recover from a short time of job loss. It took us nearly 10 years to recover. But we did, little by little. And we made sacrifices. We did not go on holiday in that time. We had one car. I would get the kids out of bed at 2:30 in the morning and bundle them into the car to take Wayne to work so that he would start at 3, so I could have the car one day a week. And on that one day a week, I went into town. I did the grocery shopping. We had doctor's appointments. That's when it was. I paid bills. We went to playgroup. That was it. Because the only other day we went out was to church. It wasn't easy. It was not easy, but it was what we had to do. You're right, Maureen. People don't want to be self-accountable. And sadly, got my tinfoil hat on. Sadly, that is actually how people are being framed to not be self-accountable. They are being encouraged to be reliant on government handouts. They're being encouraged to want someone else to fix their problems for them. They're not being encouraged to stand on their own 2 feet and get up off their tootsie and do something about their situation. Estelle says she keeps making excuses based on what she's going through, and right now she's moving house. Well, that's not an excuse. That is a situation. So whatever you're making excuses about, whatever it is, don't make moving house the crutch, because once you've moved, what are you going to use for the crutch? It won't be there and your situation will be worse. There are lots of things you can't predict in life. It happens. We never ever thought that either of us, let alone both of us at the same time, would be unemployed. Well done, Kelly. Hello, Amanda. Rebates don't work. The money has to come from somewhere. It's like when you go to buy a new microwave oven and there's a $50 cash back, but you've got to photocopy the receipt 32 times and sign everything in triplicate and get it witnessed by, a Yeti or whatever, and then send it off. You might get your $50 because there's only a limited amount of rebates to get. If it was a genuine rebate, the $50 would come off the price, and you pay $50 less at point of sale. I do not like rebates in any form. And you're right, I don't want the government in my business either, because it's my business, not theirs. All right. Congratulations, Kerry. That is wonderful. Now, I have to say, when our girl decided to move away, and she moved to a country town on her own, and she didn't buy a new house, she bought an older established home, she copped a lot of flack. Now, she could have bought here in town, here in Melbourne, she could have bought, but she would have had a much, much, much bigger mortgage to pay off. She also, when she applied for her loan, she did her calculations back then so that she knows that she will be fine until interest rates hit 8%. She can pay her mortgage on her own. She did that coming up 2 years ago. She knows. She knows. She was smart enough to think ahead. She has a plan and she worked it. Lots of people didn't think ahead. Lots of people seem to think that they would always have the $500,000 house and a little tiny interest rate to go with that mortgage. It doesn't work that way. Yep. Wendy did. Yep. When times got tough in 2021, she spent all the day in the craft room sewing face masks, making greeting cards, hanging towels, sold them via Facebook, and that money kept them fed. I did the same thing. I made masks and sold them. I've always sold my cards, dishcloths. I'm sure that's why I've got arthritis. I needed so many dishcloths in those 2 years and sold them. You do what you have to do. Right. Okay. Looking. There you go. Kelly says many sports activities, desperate for volunteers, and will negotiate or discount fees if you can give your time. If you have children that play basketball or cricket or football or whatever it is, hockey was our thing, perhaps that's a way that you can get your children into the activity that they want. And the bonus is that you're actually there watching. You're there watching because you're there because you're working. It's not a bad thing to be around your children. Wendy's girls were allowed one lunch order a term. Our kids were too, and I didn't even pay for it. It was a treat from their granny. There you go. Tegan's one of us. She's built up a pantry. Garden, now they don't go down the produce aisle, and she makes her own cleaning products. She doesn't go down that aisle either. I don't either. Once a year I go down to pick up laundry soap, borax and washing soda. That's what I go down for. I still have to buy some things, some veggies, but I don't buy a lot. It's a nice feeling to know that you're feeding your family from your own efforts. It's just a really nice, really, really nice feeling. Yeah, Amanda's watched her parents go through the 80s and 90s. She asked what the repayment would be at 20%. Well done. Well done. Oh no, I was talking about this to the journo yesterday. How cheese gone up from, it went up from $7.50 to $8, and then I must have had a lot in the fridge because it was seemed to be a big jump to $12. I would be really upset if I check tomorrow and it's $12.50. Yep. Okay. I love that doomsday cupboard. I love that. Look, I have a stockpile. I have a pantry, a full pantry, and I keep it full. And I'm not for the end of the world or the zombie apocalypse or whatever, but for this very situation, for when prices go up and up and up and just get ridiculously high, for when a pandemic strikes and we are locked down and not allowed out of our houses bar for 1 hour a day to walk around the block like lunatics. It's for those reasons, for when we're unemployed, when we don't have an income coming in, so that we can eat, we can keep our clothes clean, keep ourselves clean, keep our house clean. We can still grow some of the food that we eat because I have a seed stockpile. That's why I have a pantry. That's why I keep it full, and it's why I stockpile. I'm not hoarding for the end of the world. I always say I'm a preparer, not a prepper. I'm not, I don't have 35 years of kidney beans stashed out in the shed in Mylar bags. I have some in Mylar because I bought the Mylar to see what it was like and if it will keep them, because beans are on the forever food list. But we're using them. We use them. They're not just sitting there. We use what's in our pantry and we replace it as we can. So that's why I have a pantry. I think that's why most of us in Australia today would have a pantry. I don't think we're waiting for the zombie apocalypse or, nuclear war to break out. Because frankly, if nuclear war breaks out, eventually the cloud will float over us. So I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about the here and now, the immediate future, what I know and what I can see happening, so that I can prepare my family business, our household, to get through that easily and quickly without going backwards. That's why I have a pantry. That's why I have a stockpile. Melissa says she's surprised so many people haven't learned from 2020 and food shortages not to have a stockpile. A lot of people still have that attitude that when the food runs out, someone's going to knock on their door and hand them a box of groceries. They don't understand that when the food runs out, the food runs out. Now, if you take the train derailment in Ohio last week before, whenever it was, what a schmozzle that has been. The train derailed. That's a bit tragic. But the contents in the carriages were mislabeled, and nobody actually knew that they were as bad as they were. They knew they were slightly toxic. They didn't know it was as bad as it is. So what happened was some bright spark decided to deal with it would be easier to burn it. They didn't realize that if they set fire to it, it would create a whole other lot of problems, because it created a new chemical that, when dispersed into the air, killed people. So then there was a mad panic to evacuate thousands of people. People weren't prepared. They weren't prepared to evacuate. They weren't prepared to stay home because they didn't have the food in their home. They weren't able to shut the windows and doors and make it airtight and just stay put for a couple of days because they were not prepared. Lots of people still want someone else to come along and fix it for them. Keep coming back, Estelle. I'll keep drumming it into you. It'll sink in eventually. Look, we all make excuses for all sorts of things. You know, it could be, oh, why didn't I bring the wash? I never leave the washing out on the line, except that in the last week I've done it 2 nights. Now, I have my mother in the back of my head saying, it's slovenly to leave your washing on the line overnight. You don't do that. You go out and you bring it in. So in all my years as a married woman, I have never left the washing out on the line overnight, except for the 2 nights in the last week, because I just could not be bothered going out when it was, I just couldn't. After dinner, I was tired. One night I absolutely forgot about it. I made the excuse I was too tired, when really I should have just gone. It took like 3 minutes to bring it in. It didn't take long. It was an excuse. We all make excuses. We all do it for all sorts of reasons. What makes the difference is when we know that we are just making an excuse, and we can pull ourselves up and go, hang on, that's just an excuse. Get up and do it. And it might be something as simple as clearing the table after dinner, or washing the dishes, wiping down the stove. You go, I can't be bothered. Oh, I'm too tired. That's just an excuse, because you're never not going to be tired. You will always, if you are a homemaker, you work, you have children, you look after elderly relatives, you garden, you do volunteer work, whatever, you are always going to be too tired sometime. You're never not going to be tired. So you just get up and do it. Now, Annabelle has a really good saying of just do the next thing. And I was talking to a lady yesterday, and she was saying how she was feeling overwhelmed because she had made a lot of excuses and things had piled up on her, and she had a big pile of bills to go through, and she had a whole lot of stuff that needed to be put away. She even had rubbish that really just needed to be moved from the house to the recycling bin. But she just kept making excuses for not doing it, and now it was so overwhelming she couldn't. And I said to her, pick one thing and do it. So pick up a pile of rubbish and take it to the recycle bin. When you come back in, do the next thing. Just do one thing and then do the next thing. And that actually works. That actually works really, really well. Because anyone can do one thing. You can just one thing. Just take a shot out to the recycling bin, or wipe the breadboard. Pick up the electricity bill and pay it. Just do one thing. So if you're struggling with reasons and excuses, just do one thing. Estelle's moving, so it could be that she's struggling with packing boxes. Just pack one box. Label it, put it away. Then pack the next box, label it, and put it away. Just do one. And do them as you can, just one at a time. Because one thing at a time, over and over and over, is what gets things done. Houses are built brick by brick. Roads are laid, metre by metre of bitumen. Nothing's instantly done all at once. A jumper is knitted row by row. My dishcloths are knitted row by row. They don't just happen. One thing at a time. So if you're feeling weighed down with excuses and you know you're making the excuses, do one thing. So much easier. She's depending on traffic, anything between an hour and a half and 2 hours. Estelle is our girl. So it's not too bad, because honestly, when I go to visit Maureen, and she's still in Melbourne, just over the Westgate Bridge, the other side of town to me, it can take me over an hour to get there. So, it's not that bad, really. She was fortunate that she could take her work with her and work from home. She didn't have to find another job, although there's no shortage of work where she is either. So that's always good to know too. Wendy said it right there, short-term pain for long-term gain. That's right. And we've talked about this before. If you're we made sacrifices. We didn't go on holiday. We didn't go out. We did nothing that cost money for years. But we knew it was only a few years in the grand scheme of our lives. It was only a short time, because once we're debt-free, the money's ours. We can do what we like with it. We are free to do things for the rest of our lives because we made that sacrifice for that short time. It was about 10 years, all up. But in that time, we put our kids through private schools, primary and secondary. They did their, one activity a term. As money freed up a bit, we were able to occasionally go out for a meal. It was usually somewhere like Smorgies, because it was cheap and the food wasn't too bad. Or sometimes we would go to Sophia's, just Wayne and I, because that was a bit more expensive. If it was our anniversary or something, we might go to Sophia's for pizza. But we didn't do that for a very long time. Everything we did was free, didn't cost us money. No eggs on the supermarket shelves. I've noticed that prices are not too bad here. I know a lot of my American and Canadian friends are complaining about price of eggs, but ours are pretty much the same. If you go on a parity, dollar for dollar, ours are pretty much the same price, but then they always have been. Eggs have always been expensive for a dozen, but if you think of it as a source of protein and compare it to a kilo of mince or a kilo of chicken or a kilo of the Scotch fillet steak for $68.99, who can afford that? Eggs are relatively cheap, and they no longer have the bad rap that they had during the late 1980s and 1990s, where you were like one egg a week and, oh, don't eat the yolks and all that. So eggs are a really good source of protein. And when you compare it like that as a source of protein, they're actually very inexpensive. So for omelettes, for quiche, for egg pies, dippy bread, what have they got? French toast, we call it dippy bread, French toast. They can all be meals and inexpensive meals. So if you're worried about the price of eggs, just think about it like that, and cut back on some of the meat that you're buying. Not that I'm telling anyone to give up eating meat. I won't do that. But lost my train of thought because I just read a question. Sorry, it's gone, whatever I was going to say. Stockpiles don't take up a lot of space at all. Ingredients give you options. So if you store ingredients, you don't need as much space. Simple. And it freeze dries really, really well. I don't have a freeze dryer. Would I like one? Yes. I can't justify the price, so we won't be getting one, but it freeze dries really, really well and rehydrates beautifully too for anyone that has a freeze dryer. Okay, well, it's not in the Bible. There is nowhere in the Bible that says God helps those who help themselves. That is not in your Bible. And God will provide. But remember, there was that meme or story or whatever it is. It's been around since Noah built the ark, about the man who was sitting in the tree, flooded, waiting to be rescued, and he prayed that God would send someone to rescue him. And a guy in a canoe came along and offered to save him, and he went, no, God's going to save me. And the guy went off. SES guys came along in their motorboat and said, we've come to save you. No, I'm not going with you because God's going to save me. And off they went. Guy in a helicopter came, wanted to save him, and the guy said, no, God will save me. God will save me. And off they went, and the man drowned. And when he got to heaven, he said to God, why didn't you save him? And God said, well, I sent you a man in a canoe and the SES and the helicopter, and you sent them away. We need to be aware. We need to be aware of what God is providing for us and take advantage of that. That's what we need to do. We can't sit back and go, well, God's going to provide, and wait for him to knock on the door and pay our bills or, do our cleaning for us or whatever it is. We need to be aware of the opportunities that he gives us so that we can recognize them and, yes, accept that provision and that blessing. Because otherwise, we're just going to keep saying God will provide and be disappointed when we think he hasn't. And that's not the case. No, problem is real, and it's not just you. I just need to clarify, when the shelf is bare, use something else, which is fine. But as I have been saying continuously since this started back in 2020, if the shelf is bare and I go to use something else, that's going to cause a shortage of that something else, because now there's two people that want the one thing. Just saying that you can move on and use something else is good. It's a good skill to have. Knowing your alternatives, your substitutes, they're really good things to have, but it is not going to fix a shortage. It is actually going to increase the shortage problem. Because brand A is missing, everyone goes to buy brand B, but brand B is still only in brand B's normal production. It hasn't picked up to cover what brand A used to produce. So it's going to cause a shortage. That's what causes, that's the sort of thing that causes food riots. It's not going to the supermarket and going, no rice. It's going to the supermarket and there's one packet of rice and two people that want it. We saw it with toilet paper, of all stupid things. We saw it with toilet paper. So, yes, you can look for something else, but it's not, doesn't mean there's not a shortage. Okay, sorry guys. Hello, Joy. Joy's decluttering one. Hi, I'm so glad you're here. Decluttering one bag at a time. She is nice and close, Estelle. It made her dad and I very happy to have her still close. Sophia's is really nice. Wayne gets pizza. I always just have the Mediterranean salad, the garden salad. But I've been going there so long, they make it to my special order, which is really nice too. Joy pays $8 for a tray of 30 misshapen rough shell eggs at the local egg farm. Who cares what they look like as long as the inside's fine? Estelle, eggs had a bad rap because the yolks are supposed to be full of cholesterol and you were only supposed to have one a week and only eat the whites, and it was a whole big Heart Foundation panic about eggs, which has since been disproved. So eggs are fine, but they're actually really good for you. They are versatile. Now, we've got a book, an ebook called Everybody's Got to Eat Eggs on our website, full of egg recipes, because eggs are a really cheap form of protein, and it's a convenient form of protein. And, you know, if you want a snack, you've been working outside and you need a snack, don't reach for a muffin or a biscuit. Have a hard-boiled egg. It will fill you up so much more. The protein, it will fill you up so much more. You'll have more energy from it, and, you know, much fewer kilojoules. Much fewer kilojoules. exactly. What's $5 for a dozen eggs when so many people would spend that and take away coffee? Priorities. Some people, it's a priority thing and a perception thing. Eggs are just eggs. We don't really give them the respect that they deserve. Whereas coffee, you know, everyone just loves their coffee. So, yeah, I didn't fall for the margarine was better than butter thing, Delaney, because margarine tastes bad. Yes, Amanda, I do the same. I use Pat's sausage patty recipe. AJ asked for it again last week, so I got the stuff out of the freezer and made a whole bunch up of sausage and egg muffins for him for breakfast. They're really, really good. Tegan, look, you know what? I'd consider selling a kidney for a freeze dry. No, I wouldn't really, but I would really like one too. Really, really would like one. Welcome from Nigeria. Price of freeze dryers has gone up. Price of everything's gone up, but then our dollar's not doing so well. It's like still under 70 cents. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. Sorry, Selena. Unfortunately, you're stuck with relatives. You can't do anything about it. Okay. Hello, Evelyn. All right. Okay, 8:37. Oops, sorry, guys. I've gone over. I did not mean to. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with the dollar, Estelle. I've been watching it all year, actually. I've been watching it since November, and I'm not really sure what's going on with it. It's a little confusing. Same with oil. Anyway, that's something Wayne would say, Joy. I could just hear him saying that too. All righty. It's time for me to go. I hope I haven't been too grouchy. I hope I haven't been too forceful, but really just stop making excuses. Don't whine about inflation. Don't whine about interest rates, whether you're renting or buying or house sitting or whatever. It doesn't matter. You are responsible for you, so you need to do something about it. Don't wait for someone else to do it, because no one is going to do it for you. No one is going to do it for you because they're all too busy looking after themselves. And no, that is not being selfish. Because if they don't look after themselves first, then they're not going to be able to look after you. But if you're smart, you'll look after you, and they'll be able to look after someone who really needs help, because they don't have to look after you. Okay, thank you for sticking with me so far. If you like tonight's show, a thumbs up would be appreciated. And if you're not already subscribed to our channel, click that subscribe button to be notified every time we go live or upload a new video. I sent off Catherine's dehydrator last Thursday. Very exciting. Very, very exciting to be able to finally get it out of the corner and out of the house. I was so excited, and I'm sure she will be too. Okay, if you have any other questions or you're watching on the replay, please leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them for you. I read all your comments, every single one, and I appreciate you taking the time to leave a comment. Lastly, if you know anyone who may like our channel or this video, there's a share button. Just hit that share button, it will send them the link. And I'll be back same time next week. And I think we're going to talk about stockpiling and building stockpiles. But until then, have fun living the cheapskate's way. Be safe and enjoy life. Bye.